Welcome back everyone. In this video, we are going to explore something that sounds almost too simple to be true, but once it lands, can genuinely change the way you experience your life. We are continuing our journey through chapter 3 of Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And today, we are picking up from where we left off, going deeper into the now. We have already read that the mind loves to pull us out of the present moment. It either drags us back into the past or it sends us racing into the future. Today we are going to look at what that actually costs us. And we are going to explore one of the most radical ideas of the whole book. The idea that at the deepest level, you may not actually have any problem right now. So let's dive in. So the mind's attachment to past and future is the root of human suffering. True freedom only exists in the now. Think about the last time you felt genuinely anxious. Maybe it was before a difficult conversation, and maybe it was laying awake at night, running through all the things that could go wrong tomorrow. Where was your mind in that moment? It was in future. A future that hadn't happened yet. A future that might never happen. But your body was responding as though it was real. Now think of the last time you felt kind of sadness, heaviness because of the sadness, or resentment or regret. Perhaps something someone said to you a week ago, or something you did years ago that still can't quite forgive yourself for. Where was the mind then? It was in the past. So this is what Eckhart Tolle means when he talks about the mind being trapped in time. Most of us spend very little time actually here in this moment right now. So Tolle makes a powerful point here. He says that a belief that the future will be better than the present is not always wrong. Things can genuinely improve, but here's the key insight. Usually, the future is simply a replica of the past. Imagine someone who is unhappy at work. They hate their boss, they feel undervalued, so they find a new job, a fresh start, new office, new colleagues. For a little while, everything feels great. But then slowly, the same pattern starts to emerge. A new irritating colleague, a new boss who doesn't really listen, the same feeling of not being appreciated. Or imagine someone who thinks, if I just lose weight, I'll be better, I feel better about myself. And so they do. They hit their goal and for a moment they feel good. But then the goalposts move. Now it's something else they need to fix. So Tolle illustrates this with a bold example. He says, we have learned to split the atom. We went from hurting 20 people with a wooden club to being able to harm millions with a push of a button. But has humanity's inner state really changed? So real change doesn't happen on the outside first. It happens on inside. In the quality of your consciousness. And the only place that can truly shift is right here in the now. So Tolle draws a clear picture here. Look at the spectrum on the slide. On the left side, it's too much past. Guilt, regret, resentment, sadness, bitterness, grievances. Think of someone who was hurt in a past relationship and they are still carrying that wound years later. They haven't been able to forgive. Every new relationship gets filtered through that old pain. That's an example of too much past. On the right side, too much future. Anxiety, stress, worry, tension, fear. Think of a student who is so worried about failing their exams that they can't barely concentrate on studying. Or a parent who lies awake imagining all the things that could go wrong with their child. That's too much future. And right in the middle is presence. And that's where the peace lives. That's where the life actually is. Most of us swing between the two extremes all day long, rarely finding the middle for more than a breath or two. But the more you understand this map, the more you can notice when you have drifted and gently come back. So ultimately, there's only one problem: the time-bound mind itself. So Tolle explains, imagine that tomorrow everything that was causing you difficulty in your life was miraculously removed. The financial stress was gone, the difficult relationship was sorted, the health concern disappeared. For a while, you feel enormously relief, freedom. But then, if your inner state hadn't changed, if you hadn't become more present, new problems would begin to appear. Perhaps smaller ones at first, but they would show up like a shadow that follows you wherever you go. We all know someone who seems to always be in some kind of drama. Things get sorted, but before long, something else crops up. Not because life is about to get them, but because the mind that creates problem is still running the same program. Tolle is saying the outer situation is not the fundamental problem. The mind's habit of losing itself in time, that is the root. So Tolle draws a line between two things that we usually treat as same: your life situation and your life. Your life situation exists in time. It's a story of what happened before and what might happen next. It's made of thoughts, judgments, memories, and projections. It is, as Tolle beautifully puts it, mind stuff. Your life, though that exists only now, it is free of psychological time. It is real. So if you close your eyes for a moment and just notice that you're breathing right now, notice the feeling of the chair you're sitting on. Notice the sound in the room. That experience right here is your life. It is immediate. It is real. But your mind is busy replaying an argument from yesterday or rehearsing what you're gonna say in the difficult meeting next week. That is your life situation. It is built from thoughts, from psychological time. Can you tell the difference? Can you, even for a moment, step out of the story your mind is telling you and just be here? So now Tolle uses a phrase, narrow gate on purpose. It's a reference to something ancient and simple. And what he's pointing to is the now. He says, narrow your life down to this moment. Do you have any problem right now? Not tomorrow, not in 10 minutes, but now. Do you have any problem now? Take a breath and actually sit with that. Not the phone bill that's due. Not the conversation that you need to have with your sister. Not the job interviews next week. Right now, in this actual moment, do you have any problem? And most of the time, when we ask that question carefully and honestly, the answer is no. Right now, in this moment, you're breathing, you're watching, you're listening, you're here. There may be situations to deal with, but those are not problems. The problem is what the mind creates when it dwells on a situation without any real intention of doing something about it right now. Tolle says, when you are full of problems, there is no room for anything new, no room for a solution, no room for life itself to move through you. But the moment you bring your attention into the now, the space opens up. So here's what he says. The mind unconsciously loves problems. Because problems give you a sense of identity. Think about that for a moment. How often do we introduce ourselves through our difficulties? I've been struggling with this for years. My relationship is really complicated. Work is just non-stop stress. These stories become part of who we think we are. Tolle defines problem very precisely. A problem is when you dwell on a situation mentally without any real intention or a real possibility of doing something about it right now. And in doing so, you make that situation part of your sense of self. So you become the person with the difficult family, the person with the health issue, the person with the difficult boss, the person who is always overwhelmed with work. Not because those situations aren't real, but because the mind wraps itself around them and they become your identity. Here's the thing Tolle wants us to see. You're so much more than any situation you're in. But as long as your attention is consumed by problems, all of which exist in time, in the mind, you can't feel that truth. So we'll stop here today. In the next part, we will go even deeper. We will explore what actually happens to you in life or death emergency and why it reveals something extraordinary about presence. We will look at how to use senses to step out of mental abstraction. And we'll close with one of the most beautiful teachings in that whole book, the joy of being. So if this video has been useful to you, please consider giving this video a like. It genuinely helps more people find this content. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe so you don't miss the part 2. We'll see you there. Thank you for listening.